Hello, I don't know if you remember me, I'm still alive. We're gonna make cookies today. I know it's been a while. I don't think I've uploaded a video since, probably since before I graduated. I graduated, by the way, so I might be a bit rusty, but that's why we're making cookies. I think it's a good warm-up thing for me to do. I haven't made cookies in a while either. I think the last time I made them was probably for a bake sale in college at some point. But they're straightforward, and they're fun, and they're easy, and they're really tasty. So I think it's a good place to begin with getting back into things. In any case, cookie making, go, roll the tape, start. Okay, first thing we're gonna do is make brown butter. And what brown butter is basically, if you've ever melted butter, you see it kind of separates into the shiny golden liquid that's like the butter fat. And there's also these kind of white little bits, and they're milk solids. In brown butter, the milk solids get cooked, so they get toasty and they smell really good. And the butter part does too, so it gets a bit browner. But the milk solids being cooked is kind of the star of the show in my mind. They're the thing we're gonna kind of be looking at here when we're doing this. So for these cookies, you just want 227 grams of butter. Any one of these blocks that you buy, like the standard size that you get in Tesco or what have you, is 227 grams. It's exactly as much as you need. Any one of these is 2 sticks of butter exactly. 227. So if you're ever baking something that calls for 1 stick of butter, you can just cut one of these in half. That's just a little tip that I realized I have that I don't think I've said yet. I'm going to chop it up and put it in my saucepan and turn on the heat and start melting it to begin with. Sparks fly. And this is just kind of a medium heat. You don't want to put it on very high and burn it or anything like that. Oh, it's starting to make noise. Once it starts to sort of bubble and boil, you want to stir it. But you don't need to stir it like crazy or anything. You just want to keep it moving so nothing sticks and burns and that kind of thing. And it is a good idea to use a silicone spatula so you can scrape the sides so anything that's stuck there comes off and goes back in. Basically, you kind of just want to keep it moving around and cooking until it starts to smell really good, and the color of the liquid will also start to become a bit darker. Eventually, you'll see there'll be tiny little brown flecks of the cooked milk solids. The easiest thing to do to kind of be able to see what's going on and how brown it is and if the milk solids are getting there is to kind of just swish it around and look in whatever little gaps appear. You can push it around with the spatula a bit as well, and you'll kind of see it. You have to be paying attention because the bubbles don't want you to know what's going on for whatever reason, but you can kind of see them move around as you push. Oh, it smells really good. You can kind of see the milk solids down there. Obviously the bubbles are in the way, but can you see them? Whatever, it's done. I'm gonna pour this into a little bowl and let it cool. And when it's cool and it's more solid, then we can get to the actual cookie making. It's a lot easier to see how your brown butter has turned out once it's off the heat. You can get a spoon and actually look at the color of the liquid and the milk solids at the bottom. By the way, you're better off doing this in a wider pan than I used. I forgot to mention that the one I normally would use didn't have it on me, so I used what I had. What a lot of people do is they wait for the brown butter to cool down, but not fully solidify. You don't have to wait that long. And it's a lot easier to mix that way, creaming butter and sugar together, especially if you're doing this by hand, is a bit of effort. So if the butter is cooled down but still liquid, it's a lot easier to mix that way. I let it solidify again because it's what I'm used to, but whether it's solid or it's liquid, as long as it's cooled down, you can use it to finally make your actual cookie dough. So that's what we're gonna do now. So for the making of the actual cookie dough, I'm using a recipe that I used to screw around with a lot when I was younger. I got it to whatever point it's currently at. Will I still stand by everything about it? I don't really know. Last time I had it, it was pretty good. So also, you definitely don't need a stand mixer to make cookies. You can use an electric hand mixer. You can use your hand and a spatula. I've done that before at other people's houses and it works just fine. This is definitely not a recipe where any special equipment should be required at all. So to begin with, I'm going to put my browned butter, which I've allowed to solidify again, into the stand mixer with granulated sugar and a mixture of light brown sugar and dark sugar. And there's also more brown sugar than white sugar in it because that makes it kind of chewier. If there was more white sugar, it would veer more towards kind of crispy. You can screw around with things as well. Cookies are a good thing to kind of just mess around and see how changing things affects it, because it's pretty straightforward. So I do kind of feel like maybe I could have gone a bit browner with this butter, but I get nervous. Once I know it's brown at all, That's where I tend to call it. But if you're braver than me, try leave it, brown it a little bit more if you want. Or not. Or don't brown it at all. You don't have to use brown butter, but it does taste better. Now that those are combined, I'm going to put in 2 eggs if I can find them. Aha. 2 eggs. You're going to beat them one at a time, as is usually the case. And with the second egg, I'm going to put in 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Next thing that's going to go in is dry ingredients. So in this bowl, I've got flour, I've got baking soda, and I've got salt. I've got a teaspoon of salt in this, and there's going to be more salt involved later, which we'll get to. I'm going to put in about half first and then mix that and then do the second half afterwards. And there will come a point where you'll probably just need to get in there with your hands. So fair warning. You can probably see by this point it is quite thick. So I'm just going to take it off the stand mixer and use my hands and a spatula. Alright, that's about as mixed as that's going to get. So as you can see, quite a thick batter. The last thing that needs going now is obviously just the chocolate chips, which for that, I like to, rather than buying just chocolate chips as they are, I like to get bars of chocolate and chop them myself. I use half milk and half dark because I like the 2 of them together, and I like chopping more than the chips because it's prettier. You get a nice variation of size. You get like really nice big chunks that are going to make melty pools, and you get like this chocolate dust almost as well that mixes really nicely into the batter. You get a really nice variation, which I love. And I like it. It looks, I think, nicer and more complex and pretty compared to just round chocolate chips. So that's why I do it. But you can just use chocolate chips if you want. It's entirely up to you. Also, I've reserved some of the big chunks of chocolate to actually stick into the balls of dough later on. So you have these nice visible pools of chocolate when they're baked. These are going in. And this is going to be the difficult mixing. Yep. Here we go. I'm sure you could mix it with a spoon if you had a bigger bowl, but I chose to use this. I made this bed. I'll lie in it. I'm making a lot of noise. How late is it? I'm not going to tell you. Alright, that looks... Oh gosh, I need to keep this in front of the camera. I am so sorry. Well, it looks fairly cohesive, is what my point is right now. So, I think we're good to start forming this into balls. I rolled my cookie dough into balls and I put it in a tray with a bit of baking paper in it, just because it's easier to store in the fridge that way. And I took my reserved chocolate chunks that I mentioned earlier and I started sticking them into the dough balls. I put about 3 or 4 in each because there's chocolate chips in the dough already, you don't need a lot of them. This is mostly about making those like really pretty melty bits on top. It's mostly about the visual. And as long as you have like 3-ish, you're gonna get that. So after that, they went into the fridge at least overnight. At least. And I know waiting is annoying as hell, especially with things like, you know, baking and dough and you have all this stuff. Why can't I just make it now? Because as well as the dough kind of holding up better and like not flattening out as much, the flavors develop as well and they taste better. But I know waiting is a pain and I understand impatience. So if you really want to go for it, give them like 30 minutes just to firm up and then bake them. Whatever. It's your life. Do what you want. I've done it. You can do it. No one's gonna die, but it is worth waiting that extra day to experience the more developed version. Hell, try both. Compare them. Go for it. I opted to wait overnight, so I did all my baking the next day. Good morning, my morning, your late afternoon. That beautiful golden hour lighting is not the sunrise. It is, in fact, the sunset. It's a very pretty day. It is a Monday. I have class on Mondays, but it is 2 hours of class for which I would have to get up at like 6:30 and not be home till nearly 7, which is aggravating enough on normal days. But to do it for 2 hours of class is too much to ask for me, so I have decided I don't have class on Mondays. So we're gonna bake the cookies. Hang on, I'm gonna show you the dough balls. They look exactly as they did yesterday. If you notice 2 missing, no you don't. I might stick a couple of extra chunks of chocolate in the sides of them as I'm traying them up, because I do have that spare chocolate from yesterday. They're kind of stuck together in a slab, but that is a non-issue. It doesn't matter. It's not going to make a difference. Just pull them apart, put them on your tray and bake them. So I probably won't bake all of them today. I'll save some dough so that throughout the week I can have a fresh cookie if I want one. It's the other good thing about cookie dough is you can freeze it. So you can just have balls of cookie dough in the freezer ready to go whenever the hell you want one. So anyway, these are going to go in an oven at 180 for like 10 minutes. When the cookies came out of the oven, I immediately sprinkled some flaky sea salt that I have on top of them because salty, sweet, good. They're going to seem really soft when they come out, almost too soft. They're not too soft. Give them like 5-10 minutes and they'll set up. As long as you can see that the middle has like a matte finish and isn't shiny and wet as if it's underdone, you'll know that they're fine. All in all, I was very happy with the end product. They were very pretty with the big melty pools of chocolate and the little flakes of salt. The outsides were lightly browned and crispy, and the inside was softer and chewier. All in all, it was a really good time. I had fun making them. I had fun making the video. I really want to properly dedicate time to this because I really like it, and I forgot how much I really like it. Thank you for watching this. As I said, this was kind of for the purposes of me warming up. I really want to make really cool things that are pretty and creative and fun. So look forward to that, and I will see you when I see you, which shouldn't be long. So thank you very much for watching, and bye bye.